I didn't see you in the waiting room. How long were you in the waiting room?
Not long. It's my bad. I had some severe technical difficulties too.
Oh, okay. My bad. My bad. Okay, hold on. Let me turn you up for the stream.
I'm not
Uh,
I'm not ready yet, by the way,
oh.
so just give me like Tachyon can start or whatever and just
Mhm.
I'll join like, I'll be ready by the time my intro starts.
Okay, sure thing. Hold on. Let me turn you up even more. Can you say some words?
Okay, so I'm telling you not to do that right now because I'm not even set up to sit at my mic properly. When I'm set up to sit at my mic, then you should do a mic check.
Okay, okay, no problem. All right.
Okay.
Um,
It'll be quick
okay.
and I'll probably sound fine once I do, so don't worry about it.
Okay. All right. All right. Tachyon. Uh, so how about this? Tachyon, you can introduce yourself. Actually, wait. Okay, since you guys are not showing camera, I'm just gonna show my full screen cam. I think that should be okay with the audience. And
I will be
yeah,
using
that's
my
about it.
camera. I will be
Okay.
using my camera once I'm done, that's all.
Okay. All right. Okay, Tachyon, you can give your intro. Who are you?
Hey, I'm Tachyon Blue. I was involved in GamerGate for several years, between about 2015 to 2018. I hosted two panels at different conventions about the topic. I was going to host a third, but it actually got canceled because of a group of people on social media contacted the organizers and pressured them into canceling it. I've written a book about Gamergate. Gamergate First Battled the Culture War by Kevin McDonald. I also was involved in a lot of operations, including Operation Don't Comet Con, Operation Torrential Downpour, Operation Icy Blizzard. I did not really partake in Operation Disrespectful Nod. I also hosted a number of debates on my channel and on other channels. I was a guest and on the streaming community to debate people on GamerGate. Also hosted GamerGate open houses. In addition, I hosted a number of meetups, GamerGate and St. Louis meetups, where we got together, spent some time together in real life. And one of the people from the meetups is actually probably watching live now, or going to be watching the VOD later. I also moderated some GamerGate communities, including the Steam group, the Discord server, which I actually created, and I was very active in the debate subreddits as well. Basically, my view is, well, we don't want to get too much into that, but GamerGate to me was a big part of my life, and maybe too much of my life actually. It was something that I was like die hard dedicated to, at the expense perhaps of other things. And but I believed in the cause, and I think that it was still a just cause, and I think that I want to change the record on this. I want to see the record on this change. I want to see people um, believe that Gamergate was a force for good, or at least had the potential to be a force for good. And even if they disagree with me, that's okay. We can have a conversation. And that's why I'm really glad that Ninetails is here and agreed to do this discussion. I'm glad that you've agreed to moderate, and that possibly Yoon might be coming in later. I appreciate Jay Chisel's offer to moderate as well. I think that was very nice of him to offer that. And I'm really excited to be here and have this conversation. So thank you.
Awesome. And let's how about this? Since Nine is still setting up, unless Nine is
I'm
done now.
basically ready. I'm basically
Okay.
ready.
All right. Nine introductions.
I don't like my lighting though, so forgive me on that.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah, Ninetails cut like Tachyon said he was gonna do like a 20-minute intro, by the way.
No, that's the opening
Oh.
statement, but it's not going to be
Oh.
20. It's going to be about 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Ninetails Cosmic Fox. I'm not gonna make my I'm just a streamer, blah blah blah. Debater more than anything. Debater extraordinaire. You can find me on Twitch. I'm going to be streaming this time once I'm actually ready. And I'm also on Twitter at M9Scarlet.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks for agreeing to this. I think it's going to be a good discussion. I hope that at the end of the day, when this is all over, we can look at this and be like, you know what? We disagree on some points, but we also found some common ground, and that's useful.
Cool. Awesome. All right, intros. So now we can do the intro, the actual like opening argument intro thing.
Do you want to do yours
Okay.
first, or do you want to do mine first?
You can go first.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey.
Tachyon, you can go first. Yeah. How long was it again? Is it 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or 25 minutes? How long was it?
No. It's well. Remember, you said limit of 15. So, but don't worry, I've shortened it. So let me. You guys have a timer ready? Let me know.
I do have a timer ready. How long should I set it for?
Set it for 15, and then as soon as I'm done, we want to start that video. And then any time remaining after that video, we're gonna cede. Okay. I'm gonna cede to Ninetails for her opening statement.
Wait, hold on. But after the 15 minutes, it's only 15 minutes, right?
Correct. That's the plan.
Yeah, but the video is additional time, right?
No, that's including the video.
Okay, gotcha.
All right.
All right, sounds good.
Let me know when you're ready.
Begin.
First of all, thank you to everyone who's here for the debate as we observe the 9th anniversary of GamerGate. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart, as I know it is for many of you. The focus of this discussion is the charge that Ninetails has levied against GamerGate supporters. Ninetails has alleged that the movement was motivated by misogyny, that those of us involved in GamerGate used concerns about games journalism, censorship, and creative freedom as a smokescreen, so that they could pursue their true aims of driving women out of gaming. As someone who was for several years heavily involved with GamerGate in multiple capacities, I am happy to address this accusation, and I'm glad that Ninetails has graciously agreed to debate this topic tonight. Unfortunately, I believe that Ninetails has fallen for some misinformation, and I hope that a good faith conversation will clear things up. To me, GamerGate was never about hating anyone. It was a backlash to unethical games journalism that the gaming community had to put up with for far too long. In August 2014, the gaming press had an opportunity to change that, to implement reforms necessary to build trust. Within the span of less than 2 weeks, a number of high-profile games journalists across multiple publications were embroiled in scandals of having engaged in ethical misconduct. Kotaku's Nathan Grayson wrote 3 articles involving Zoe Quinn, including a January 2014 article that promoted Zoe Quinn's game Depression Quest over 49 other games. Grayson did not disclose that he had been friends with Quinn since at least June 2012, or that he had appeared in the credits of the game. Mr. Grayson had also written 6 articles over the span of 3 months about Robin Arnott, including a positive review of his game's sound self, even though the two had been friends. Arnott and Grayson had been friends on Facebook since March 2013, and in his review, he talks about how Arnott greeted him with a hug. While hugging people and being Facebook friends is not inherently indicative of a real-life friendship, it does raise questions, especially when you're reviewing his game, praising his game in 3 other articles and quoting him in 2 other articles, all in the span of 3 months. It raises eyebrows. Another Kotaku writer, Patricia Hernandez, had allegedly provided positive coverage of 3 of Anna Anthropy's games, as well as Anna Anthropy's book, without disclosing that Anthropy was her roommate. Polygon's Danielle Reindow gave Gone Home a 10 out of 10 without disclosing that she had been, quote, close friends, unquote, with the game's composer, Chris Remu, since at least 2008. Another Polygon writer, Ben Kuchera, had allegedly donated money to indie game developers whose games he reported on. Leah Alexander, who worked for several publications, had written 8 articles, later a 9th article, about Anna Anthropy or her games. These articles did not disclose that the two appeared to be friends. It's not clear exactly when their friendship began, but the two had publicly discussed going to dinner together on at least 2 occasions, had regularly tweeted at each other since at least October 2010, and another Twitter user had contemporaneously thought that they were friends, or might be friends, on October 28, 2010. All of these scandals had blown up over the course of less than 2 weeks, and the response from the games press was largely to ignore the situation or deny any wrongdoing. Some websites even censored discussion of the scandals, infuriating users and backfiring for the censors, resulting in the topics blowing up even bigger. But even so, it wasn't too late for the games press, and it wasn't too late to stop GamerGate from happening. It is understandable that people would want answers to the very real ethical questions raised. All they had to do is what any honest person would do in this circumstance: address the ethical concerns, implement reforms to reduce future ethical breaches, apologize to the audience, and establish a dialogue with those who have brought these concerns to light. And of course, they could also make it clear that they don't condone any harassment as well. But they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to reform. They didn't want to have conversations. They wanted to shut them down. They embraced an us versus them mentality. They created Gamergate. On August 28th, 2014, 9 years ago tomorrow, the games press attacked Gamasutra, Destructoid, Kotaku, Rock Paper Shotgun, Ars Technica, Vice, BuzzFeed, The Daily Beast, Dr. Nerdlove, and the Financial Post, and Dan Golding of the Free Play Independent Games Festival all wrote articles declaring that the gamer identity needed to come to an end. The gamers are dead articles. Some of these articles, such as Golding's, even declared that, quote, the hysterical fits of those inculcated at the heart of gamer culture might on the surface be claimed as crusaders for journalistic integrity or defense against falsehoods, along with a mix of the hatred of women and an expansive bigotry thrown in for good measure. What is actually going on is an attempt to retain hegemony. Make no mistake, this is the exertion of power in the name of male gamer orthodoxy, an orthodoxy that has already begun to disappear. The Gamers Are Dead articles prove to be disastrous and have disastrous consequences for the games press. Rather than creating an atmosphere of dialogue and reform, the games press upset large swaths of their audience. The Gamergate hashtag exploded and forums all over the internet discussed the articles. People were pissed, and understandably so. Why did all these articles come out on the same day and say more or less the same thing? Why are they all an ideological attack on the gamer identity as a whole? An identity that many people have embraced and found both comfort and community in. When you treat people this way, you shouldn't be surprised that there's a backlash. Some people did legitimately harass other people on both sides. Some people legitimately harassed individuals involved in these scandals in the weeks leading up to Gamergate, and that's wrong. That should be condemned wholeheartedly and without reservation. And the Gamergate community has worked to condemn harassment. They created the Gamergate Harassment Patrol to fight against harassment, and multiple studies have shown that the vast majority of Gamergate supporters did not support harassment or engage in harassment. A study conducted by Women Action Media that analyzes the accounts on anti-Gamergater Randy Harper's block list of alleged Gamergate supporters found that out of the 9,844 alleged Gamergate supporters, only 65 had engaged in harassment. That comes to 0.66% of Gamergate supporters engaging in harassment, and I have no problem condemning those 65 individuals. Another study conducted by Brandwatch at the request of Newsweek analyzed 500,000 Gamergate tweets with a random sampling of 1/4 of the tweets on the hashtag. Brandwatch found that 6,315 of the 500,000 tweets analyzed contained negative sentiments towards Anita Sarkeesian, Brianna Wu, Leigh Alexander, or Zoe Quinn. That comes to 1.26% of the 500,000 tweets analyzed. The study did not address if the 6,315 tweets in particular met the definition of harassment, but rather they used the metric of whether or not they contained negative sentiment. These are just the events that led up to the Gamergate conflict, and the Gamers Are Dead articles. The next several years saw almost constant events, controversies, and happenings. To cover it all in the brief amount of time allotted to me here would be impossible. So let me say in closing, I think Ninetails is wrong about Gamergaters being misogynistic. I think people had good reasons to be critical of the games press. That people had good reasons to recoil at the Gamers Are Dead articles, perhaps even more so after it was revealed that nearly 150 games journalists across competing publications were in a private mailing group and had used that group to blacklist game developers and games journalists that they didn't like. How many other such groups exist that we don't know about? These are reasonable questions and reasonable concerns. These reasonable concerns and questions were met with condemnation of the gamer identity, of censorship, with allegations that everyone who wanted to talk about this was a misogynist, and the suppression of negative information. Some of the Gamers Are Dead articles, such as that by Devin Wilson of Gamasutra, even argued that video games themselves were possibly bad and created a toxic culture. Wilson wanted to create 18 rules for video game developers to follow moving forward. Mr. Wilson is entitled to his opinion, of course, but he should be arguing that more games that he likes be made, rather than arguing that developers stop making the kinds of games that he doesn't like. Gaming is for everyone, and all different types of games should be able to exist. That's the kind of world and culture that I believe in. That's the main reason I supported Gamergate, and many others did as well. It isn't fair to call us misogynists because we disagree with you, Ninetails. Let's not write people off as being moral monsters over disagreements. It's not good, and it's not useful. Let's do what should have been done from the very beginning. See the humanity in those who disagree with us, and have the conversation. I look forward to having that conversation with you tonight, Ninetails. We can be the change we want to see in the world tonight, one little bit at a time. And now I'd like to please play the video that I sent to Foodshops.
Okay, can you give me the link again? Where can I find the link?
I sent it to you in Discord, remember?
Okay, give me a second. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I found it. Give me a second. Let me pull it up. All right. This better not contain the hard R N-word. Holy shit.
By the way, everything else thing I cited, I posted that in the Discord, in my Discord, and in Foodshops Discord, so that you can see all the sources for yourself. By the way.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna. All right. Please mute yourself. I'm gonna play the video. You have 5 minutes, 26 seconds left. I'm gonna play the video now. Okay.
I support GamerGate. I write a blog about feminism in video games. I don't need anybody to speak for me. I am not your shield, and I am not a sock.
I'm the mother of 2 neuroatypical gamers. I support GamerGate and NotYourShield because I will not tolerate the vilification of autistic or neuroatypical traits in gaming press and mainstream media. Social awkwardness is not a crime.
Hello, my name is Julie and I support GamerGate because I support journalistic integrity. For supporting GamerGate, I have been called names, harassed, and doxxed.
Hello, NotYourShield deniers. My name is Thorn, and the reason I joined GamerGate and NotYourShield is that on August 28th, my Facebook feed filled with gamer hate.
Hi, my name is Lauren. I'm a gamer, and I'm not your shield. I don't hate men. I don't hate women. I hate unethical journalism, and I want to see it gone.
My name is Liz. I am a confirmed pro-GamerGate sock puppet account created by 4chan. And as a result, I have received threats of death, violence, and doxing. And I'm still not your shield.
I believe that integrity is important in journalism, which is why I support GamerGate.
Hey, I used to be a gamer, and unfortunately I'm not anymore. But that doesn't change the fact that when there's corruption in the medias and ableization of a good cause, all of that based on lies and hypocrisy, it's a big no-no for me. That's why I support GamerGate. We're friends. Bye.
I support GamerGate because I want reviewers to tell me to buy a game because it's good, not because their developer friend made it.
My name is Alice. I'm a transgender girl and I support GamerGate.
I'm disgusted by the current state of corruption and bias in gaming journalism, and I won't be silenced just because the combination of my gender and my opinion doesn't match the media narrative.
GamerGate is what has resulted from an already untrusted games press deciding to aggressively attack, dehumanize, and censor its already marginalized readers.
I'm Gwen. I'm Altaria. Gaming saved our lives. Gaming was there for us when no one else was. Gaming brought the two of us together. Gaming doesn't make us bad people. We support the consumer revolt that is GamerGate.
My name is Katie and I stand with GamerGate because it's ridiculous to blame an entire group of people for the actions of a few bad eggs.
I support GamerGate because I'm against corruption, lack of transparency, and unethical behavior from game journalism. I'm tired of the media misrepresenting me.
Hello GamerGate, I'm Thornblossom's husband. I support GamerGate because the Guardian told me that I had an imaginary girlfriend.
I am not your shield, and my friends are not your scapegoat to mask the unfair dismissal of Alistair Pinsoff for exposing the fraud of a Destructoid contributor.
Hi, I'm Queenie Martha, I'm a woman, and I'm a gamer, and I'm pro GamerGate.
What's going on? I'm a minority gamer, and I support GamerGate because I'm tired of these journalists and activists pretending I don't exist because I don't support their narratives or their agendas, and I'm not their shield.
30-year-old, gay, disabled man, and just because I express an opinion different than yours, I am fake.
Hello social justice warriors, my name is George Lee.
I am a Chinese American, and I support GamerGate. I am not your shield, so you can engage in corruption, collusion, and censorship against my fellow gamers.
I'm disabled, I'm a gamer, don't use me as a shield to deflect criticism.
I'm Emma, I am 18 years old, and I believe in the beauty of gaming, in journalistic integrity, and the power GamerGate has to change things for the better. And that is why I am Not Your Shield.
Hi, I'm a supporter of Not Your Shield. Seeing how these so-called social justice warriors treat anyone they disagree with, even slightly, is sickening, and I want nothing to do with them.
My name is Lily. I'm a Chinese American, a UC student, and this is not a war on women. This is about ethics and journalism. I'm not your shield.
It is claimed that GamerGate isn't about ethics but rather silencing the voice of women in the gaming industry. Well, I am a female gamer, and for the first time in my life I believe my voice has been snuffed out. I don't need men or women to tell me what my opinions are, or what their value is. I believe in GamerGate. I support the movement for fair and ethical journalism. I am against the harassment the fine young capitalists received.
My name is Nicholas Taylor and I support GamerGate. Because as a video games journalist myself, I stand for ethics and against corruption within the field I've chosen to work.
Hello, my name is Carl. I've been a gamer for most of my life. I've had enough from so-called game journalists slandering our hobby, and this is why
your intro is finished. You are done. You will now mute your mic. Nine's intro has now ready to prep. Her gun is loaded, and now she will fire at you. All right, no, but you cannot address obviously the intro. But anyway, yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah, go.
Yeah, darn it. Can I just quickly start recording this through OBS because I haven't
sorry. Yeah, yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah, just let me know when you're ready.
Oh, it's just recording somewhere, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really liked the first part. It was very listenable, even though I definitely didn't agree with a lot of the points. I'm just going to read off what I already have instead of responding to it directly, since that already takes up enough time.
Yep.
So there are certain terms we use for this. Geek masculinity is one of them. It is a term used to describe both a pro-masculine mindset that also feels victimized and alienated for their gaming culture and behavior. There's a techno-culture within that of needing to maintain masculine technological control, and it is reinforced by misogyny. Now, I'm not just pulling this all out of my ass, by the way. This has been well documented. GamerGate is misogyny dressed as integrity. Now I'll get into what misogyny is, don't worry. We need a nuanced reading of GamerGate to unpack its role in fueling GamerGate culture and the violence that came out of it. The strongest voices in denouncing sexism in video games are the ones who pay most for it. They wanted to ignore, GamerGate wanted to ignore feminist critiques of video games. Okay, so I rambled on this, but the people who pushed it were the ones who constructed it. So you can say that, while there was only a minority of people who did it, still a lot of people, and it caused a lot of victims, and you had a whole bunch of right-wingers grifting from it at the end. The purpose by the architects was to weaponize populism and destroy the other in a culture war. And you can see this in their culture itself. Real journalism ethics doesn't mean over-implicating normal social relationships. I agree that the way GamerGate... sorry, I wrote that disingenuously. I think that it's the way that GamerGaters... I hate saying that. GamerGaters handle things that reduces the efficacy of the conversation. GamerGate was an industry that was that capitalized on another term, technological rationality. And basically, I'm going to gloss over this, but there are people who say that technology also kind of fuels this hate-filled, one-dimensional thinking, male-oriented environment. And so I'm skipping a bunch of stuff there. So my question is, how does my opponent think ethics in journalism really affect? Did I write that right? How does my opponent think that ethics in journalism here really affect the outcome? And what I mean by that is, how much would you say here that people really wanted ethics in journalism and that we can clearly see that through their behavior and actions? Or how much do you think they wanted, to push women out who were making feminist critiques? And that's my intro.
Okay. Well,
Oh,
hey.
you're wait, hold on, you're done?
Yep.
Oh, you have, I'm just saying you have 12 minutes left, but
How long?
12 minutes.
No, we're not doing 20 minutes. Fuck that. No, I was doing 5.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I mean, if you're done, then yeah, the floor is all of you guys. Otherwise, I'm just gonna step back, and only when things get really, really heated, or you guys are like starting to talk over each other, then I'm just gonna step in. Otherwise,
I'm not even
yeah,
asking
you
your
guys.
assistance.
Yeah, but otherwise, you guys, you can just go wherever. I'm just gonna look pretty in the corner. Just do. That's it. All right.
Okay, yeah. Well, hey, thank you for your introduction. I do have some questions. I wrote down some things I want to talk about possibly on here, but I want to start. You asked me a question directly. How many of them cared about ethics versus how many of them wanted to push out women? Well, I think when it comes to, or sorry, you said push women out who were making feminist critiques in particular, right?
Yes.
So not misogyny, but rather they just didn't like certain people based on their political views, and they wanted to remove
Well,
those
we
people.
could argue that that's technically misogyny because it does Oh, I didn't get the definition. Didn't make it into my intro somehow, or I skipped past it.
Should use those
The
12
definition.
minutes.
The
yeah,
definition
sure.
of misogyny is a contempt for women who do not fit the normative roles.
Yeah, I always consider misogyny people who hate women. But anyway, I think that
Wait.
gamer.
Wait, Tachyon, do you accept that definition?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we could go around back and forth all day about whether or not you could say that misogyny could take many different forms, and one form that it could take might be that women should be constrained to certain positions. Like you could argue that, and I'm fine with.
That's the one I'm operating on, which you
But
should
that's
know.
not the definition, though. I'm pretty sure you can look it up right now, Food, if you want. Is like people
Sure.
who hate women, the hatred of
Yeah,
women.
I got the definition from something else, not my own. So, let me find that.
But I don't think people wanted to push out women out of gaming. I don't think people even really wanted to push out feminists. So I'm sure probably maybe some people did, but I think but not through harassment. I think a lot of people disagreed with Anita Sarkeesian, and I think
Wait, so hold on. So hold on, just defining it off of Google, it is dislike of, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against women.
Okay, so my definition's right.
Well, not right. I got my source from I got my information from a source too. So
Yeah. Careful. Let's not get bogged down in semantics.
Just,
Yeah. Let's not get bogged down in definitions. So,
dictionary is purposely not nuanced in a way that's supposed to, reflect current critiques or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I disagree that it was about a minor. Well, now this is going to seem redundant, but a minor disagreement of Anita Sarkeesian. And the reason is that we can see that what she went through was in no way proportional to what she had done. Even if every critique that you could possibly think of and pull out of the vacuum to levy at her were true, she did not receive the punishment that she received.
Well, I don't know what punishment you're talking about. I think that people on the internet, and sometimes GamerGate people, sometimes not GamerGate people, disagree with people on the internet too. And if you make YouTube videos, some people are going to disagree with you. And I think that that's perfectly fine. That's part of operating in this space as a content creator. And obviously, if somebody is saying, go kill yourself, or, you're a stupid fat bitch, I hope you die, or like if they're operating in that way, or they're doxing people, I think that's wrong. I think that's bad. I don't think you should threaten people. And I think that as a general matter, we should probably try to have a decent level of discourse when we're talking with people who agree with us and who disagree with us. And unfortunately, in the content creator space, that doesn't always happen. But I don't think that saying that GamerGate is trying to harass Anita Sarkeesian is accurate. In fact, I went over the studies on this. At best, you could say 1.26% were, and that was negative sentiment, not even harassment, but negative sentiment. 1.26%, yeah. And then 0.66% engaged in harassment. And look, obviously that 0.66%, that's bad. I don't endorse that. I don't condone that. But I don't think you can say, oh, well, all these other 99% of people, and we're talking about like literally over 10,000 people involved in this thing, millions of tweets. I don't think you can say that 99% of them are harassers and evil.
So, Anita Sarkeesian, yes or no, received death threats?
I'm sure she did.
She received threats of rape.
Probably, yeah.
She was doxxed.
I don't know about specifically that claim, but I wouldn't be
She
shocked.
was. She
Yeah.
was doxxed. She had to leave her
Sure.
home.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case.
And it seems like
But
everywhere.
you're
Anita
thinking that
Sarkeesian-
GamerGate people did this,
No,
and
they
that
did.
GamerGate people endorsed this.
Yes, they did. And now everywhere that Anita Sarkeesian goes, whether it's on the internet or in public, she has to hide herself because she's afraid that she'll be recognized and that she could be harassed for being at that location. So you think that whatever thing that she did wrong, which by the way, the main contention with GamerGaters was that she wasn't a true gaming journalist in their mind.
What? She's not even
you
a
think-
gaming journalist. What are you talking about? She's a YouTuber.
True. And her critiques on feminism was an attempt at game journalism, was an attempt at content creation and theory. So, her being wrapped up into this just shows how rabid the movement was. I also would like to point out that you're kind of like doing a dual narrative here. You're saying, well, they weren't that big actually, and they didn't do that much. But yet we know that there are
Who's they?
multiple
What are you talking about?
the GamerGaters. We know that there are multiple prominent alt-right figures who developed entire careers off the back of this. So it clearly wasn't just a small group of people who were doing this.
What are you talking about? I said that there were over 10,000 people involved with GamerGate. And you know what? Some of those people did become alt-right and did become moral monsters. And I think that that's bad. I think that
There's
that's
also attempts to do this stuff. Like it didn't just happen. There's boards where they talked about it. I can
attempts
provide
to do what stuff?
in terms of Zoe Quinn to and the movement and feminist journalists in general to basically smear them, dox them, and harass them and threaten them.
Oh yeah, probably. There were a lot of different communities involved in this, and some communities were engaging in harassment. But to say that that's GamerGate is, I think, disingenuous.
So where would you say this, like the center, like the main platform for GamerGate was?
Mostly, well, there were several, right? There was Twitter, Kotaku in Action, and GGHQ mostly. But there were people all aboard. There were over 22 different GamerGate communities.
I find
Way
it
more than that.
interesting that you're avoiding 4chan and 8chan.
What do you think GamerGate HQ's on?
Well, you just didn't mention those, but like,
What do you? GamerGate HQ was on 8chan.
so did you know that people who study online radicalization, that's also one of the most frequent places that they study?
What?
4chan and 8chan.
Yeah, sure. There are people on. Well, actually, sorry. There's also V too. People where V was a pretty big community as well. But
Do you think the GamerGaters showed? And I'm not like you can speak for yourself, but I don't think that's as relevant because you are an author, and I assume you did a better job. But do you think like the people who were actually responding to these issues were ethical in the ways that they talked about Zoe Quinn, Anita Sarkeesian, and so on?
I think some people were, and I think Jim, Mr. Medicare, you may know him now. I think he was probably a bit too not very much. I think he actually did have a little bit of sexist language in his video because he was basically he was like the Keemstar of the late 2000s and early 2010s, and he's from that culture, and I think that his video did have some sexist jokes in it, which I don't like.
Okay. I would say that the more that you actually examine the real timeline of this movement, which is that the thing I agreed most with was that they didn't get their outcries published. But to begin with, their outcries were over mostly directed.
Well, hang on, I'm not going to let you
feminists.
dodge the 8chan point though. 8chan was a free speech platform. Right now, I'm live on Kick. So is Foodshops here. We're both streaming on a free speech platform where, guess what? There's going to be people who have crazy views. Right now, there's probably white nationalists and red pill people and misogynists streaming right now.
You think
on
8chan is comparable to Kick?
Wait, one at a time. Yeah, go ahead.
You
Yeah.
think 8chan is comparable? Okay.
Yeah.
just
It's a
curious, are you
platform
able?
where anybody can
Now,
go
this is
there
a
and
genuine
make a forum.
question. This is a
Wait, let
genuine
Nine
question.
finish. Let Nine finish.
This is a genuine question. I could be wrong. I could just not know better. I'm pretty sure you would probably still get taken down for streaming child porn. No?
Probably. And 8chan did have rules against
Yeah.
child porn too. I'm not sure how strictly they were
No,
enforced.
it's absolutely rife with it. It's where people go. It's one of the considered the internet hubs for normies to get like sucked into that.
Well, you might know more about the pedophile community than I do, so I can't comment on that.
Whoa,
Oh,
stop.
wow.
No, stop with that. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
All right,
Let's
all right,
go
fair
back to the
enough.
subject.
Fair
Let's go
enough.
back to
That
the
was
subject. Let's go back.
okay.
Yeah,
Fair
okay,
enough.
all right.
Fair enough.
I just think it wasn't just about games, right? It was a set of anxieties, rhetorical strategies, and hate campaigns. And by campaigns, I do mean like the fact that we have the records of these chat logs and how they coordinated these behaviors. So they weren't just like people reacting; they were just people passionate who were activists. They were particularly mad at feminists, at people like Zoe Quinn, at people like Anita Sarkeesian.
Well, you're mixing together so many different claims all at once, right? So if you're talking about prior to GamerGate, when you prior to GG forming, and you had the drama surrounding the Zoe post, and you had the drama surrounding Grayson and Arnott.
Which you misrepresented, and I want to get into that.
Oh, sure, definitely. We can definitely talk about the ethical
Can I
violations.
just read you?
But no, hey, what? You're not even letting me finishing anything. Here. Okay.
Have you ever heard of somebody called Sweet J Bro?
No, I don't know who that is.
Or
But
Zempa?
I'm not. No, I don't know who that is either. But
Just no, I didn't get to finish what I was saying really.
Okay, you go first, and then Tachyon can go. No.
So, in this thing that I'm looking at, and I can share my screen if you need. Sweet J Bro says, "We're crashing her career with no survivors," and they're getting mad that it's blowing up, and then they start making anti-Semitic comments. Do you think that properly accurate represents the GamerGate movement?
no, I don't think so. I don't know who Sweet J Bro is. I'm sure you're looking through the 4chan IRC logs, I imagine, right?
Yes. And so my thing is, I don't think you're aware of this true scope of this. I think the victims are far more aware of this, and that's why when they're telling us it's an issue, there's a reason why. I think in particular, we know that it relies on three particular rhetorical figures: crusader imagery, where they see themselves as being the saviors of something; disciplining unruly female voices, hence their victims; and asserting men are the only real gamers and the true victims of gaming culture. And thus is where we get into the ethics of game journalism, where it seems like women have been much more victimized by the discussion of ethics of gaming culture than the other side has.
Well, what I wanted to talk about is that you keep complaining these different things, right? You say that, okay, there's these people, the Zoe post comes out, and there's this big juicy internet drama about it. A bunch of YouTubers are covering the situation. People on multiple message boards are talking about it, including 4chan. And some of the people are engaging in actual harassment, right? Yes, absolutely. I don't disagree with that at all. And you also have people who are following this story and are seeing ethical concerns, and they're looking into those, and they're discovering more and more of them. You're seeing the situation with Robin Arnott and Nathan Grayson. You're seeing the Patricia Hernandez story with Anna Anthropy. You're seeing Leia Alexander and Anna Anthropy, and you're seeing Ben Kuchera making
Get
donations.
to the point, guys.
So you have two different types of people, right? You have some people that were talking about this drama, and this is all before GamerGate even started, talking about this drama on the internet. Some people are like, oh, LOL, this is funny. Some people are like, oh, wow, what a dumb bitch, right? They're like, and then some people are like saying like, oh, hang on, you just accused your girlfriend of cheating on you with Nathan Grayson of Kotaku, and he wrote articles. Well, let's talk about that. And then the response to that is to publish the Gamers Are Dead articles, which
so I know you do
blows
want to
this
talk
up.
minutia. This is all minutia, and so I do want to interject with the first thing you said, which is that there is minimal harassment. I'm not.
Did I ever say that necessarily?
Okay, fine. Well,
I said that statistically it's minimal. Yes, relative. Yes, it's
my
relatively
question
minimal.
is, how do you think a culture where people were talking about doing that in these boards and other people just stood by, if anything, no, there's literally no one here saying. Okay, I see someone saying why are they a target, but as I read through these, the biggest thing that I noticed was that there's not a lot of pushback on the idea of doing these heinous acts.
You're on a 4chan IRC chat room. What do you think it's gonna be?
I thought you said this was the headquarters. Like, this is the culture of GamerGate, is it not?
What are you talking about? I said Kotaku in action, Twitter, GamerGate HQ, and V.
Right, but I'm focusing on the thing that's GamerGate HQ as an example of the culture. Don't you think that seems rather fair?
No, you're looking at burgers and fries. Don't.
Burgers and Fries was created specifically for this purpose on 4chan, and everyone let it happen.
4chan was Burgers and Fries was created by people on 4chan who wanted to talk about the drama.
Right,
and also about the ethical stuff too. Right. This was a massive. This was an unmoderated. This was an or largely unmoderated, I should say, chat room to discuss the ongoing situation.
And mind you, it was only their headquarters until 4chan made a rule that you can't dox, and then
No, Burgers and Fries was never the headquarters of GamerGate. Burgers and Fries was before GamerGate.
But okay, so this is on 4chan. It's on the Twitter, the GamerGate HQ. It moved.
No,
because
GamerGate HQ
longer...
is a specific message board. You don't know what GamerGate HQ even is, do you?
It's fine. My point being,
no, it's not fine. You don't even know what you're talking about. You say
it's 4chan.
This is posted on GamerGate HQ. What is GamerGate HQ?
Your exact words.
I just want you to answer the question.
Your exact words are Twitter HQ basically refers to 4chan.
What? Now, hey, Foodshops, you're the moderator. Did I say that?
The specific words, Twitter HQ was 4chan or something?
Generally, yeah.
I actually do not remember. I'm not even joking. All right, that's the specific words. I do not remember. I don't recall.
I'd honestly go back in the stream if I felt like being a bitch.
Oh, please do it, because I didn't say it. So you're
okay.
So I just want to. Okay.
So I did point out.
I feel like you're coming at this in bad faith. Here's what I want to ask you. One question: do you know what GamerGate HQ even is?
No.
So then, why are you saying that this is on GamerGate HQ?
Because we know that the root of this movement happened on 4chan. The majority of the activity.
Well, it was on 4chan. It was on Reddit. It was all over the place. It was on spacebattles.com. It was on RPG Codex. I can give you a list of
just because
GG
it
communities.
happened, and you're doing whataboutisms. Just because it happened in places doesn't mean that 4chan.
No, not at all. No, not at all. That's not fair to say at all. There were.
Are you sure?
Dozens of communities. Yeah.
It's weird though, because like when people do these surveys that you allude to, where they quantify all the violence that happens, they point to how they found the most cases on 4chan.
The most cases of violence, or what? Well, first off, I don't think there was any violence.
No,
well, violence involved with GamerGate.
The most samples.
We can check after the debate. It's fine.
The point being that it's very clear that the culture surrounding 4chan was embodied by the GamerGate movement, and they didn't move from 4chan until 4chan said, "Hey, no more doxing."
No, that's not true. Actually, 4chan just said we don't want anything to. 4chan said they don't want anything to do with any of the conversation at all. They didn't just ban doxing; they banned all conversation. Of course, doxing should be banned. I'm perfectly fine with banning doxing. What I'm not fine with.
I think you're framing this in a way that looks better for you.
Okay, go on 4chan right now and make a post about GamerGate. See if it gets deleted by the mods.
It would make a lot more sense that they wouldn't just get rid of GamerGate and a discussion about ethics and journalism, that they would rather get rid of something that's causing people to dox.
No, do you want to go check? Go look into the history of this. GamerGate was heavily censored on 4chan.
I have been looking into the history of this.
Apparently not, since you don't even know what one of the main GamerGate platforms was.
Wow,
you also thought GamerGate. You thought GamerGate started in 2012. That's what you told me.
You don't seem to know why. You don't seem to know why they moved from 4chan to 8chan. I could just leverage the same thing.
No, I do know why. They banned all discussion of GamerGate and all discussion of this topic altogether. Of anything related to the ethics situation, just get it off.
Okay, wait, Blue. What was the reason that it moved from 4chan to 8chan?
I don't know if an official reason was ever given, but the moderators did ban all discussion of the topic, and there might have been people who were doxing. I'm sure there were. It's 4chan. People on 4chan do all sorts of crazy shit.
So I'm on the 4chan rules page. Not that I want to be. Typing Control F, GamerGate.
Just because it's not an official rule that GamerGate discussion is not allowed.
Okay, so now I'm also gonna do doxing. Oh wow, you're not allowed to dox. That's the rule. It seems to be that GamerGate was doing a lot of doxing.
Well, you're talking about before GamerGate even happened.
No, this is
Well,
what is
what's the
cited
date?
by several articles as the reason that they switched. There's no given date for when the rule started. This is the rules page. They don't be like, we started this rule today. No, that's not how that works. The date.
The position
I
of
have. I'm gonna
V
find
no
the
the position
article
of the
that
V
cites it.
moderators no the position of the V moderators was that all discussion of this has just got to stop.
Probably because they were doxing people. But
And
like
if
you're
people were
acting like
doxing people, then they should be banned.
people
I
left
agree.
because they were shadow banned. But here's the problem about shadow banning is
What? I
that
didn't
you
bring
can
that up.
hide your intentions. You can hide your intentions behind. Well, you're saying that they just left because the rules were against them. There is no rule against them, so the implication is shadow banning. No.
No, the rule, the contention is that the V moderators didn't want this on the board anymore.
But then they could have just stayed there, right? They could have just hung out there and continued having their discussion in their dedicated boards.
No, they couldn't because you couldn't talk about this. You couldn't talk about this topic,
Because they
regardless
were
of
being
whether it was doxed or not. You couldn't talk about the topic.
how? You're saying that they weren't shadow banned, but how did they actually stop this if they weren't shadow banned?
No one's saying that they were shadow banned. I'm saying that they were actually shutting down all the discussions
I
on the
don't think
topic.
you have a proper explanation for why they left. Whereas I'm able to point to several articles which point out that they did leave once 4chan changed its rules on doxing.
No, it wasn't. They banned all discussion of GamerGate entirely, not just like doxing.
There
They
is no
say
ban on
that.
it. There is no ban.
Okay,
And
so just
like,
because it doesn't say it
you can't
explicitly in the
explain how
rules,
they banned it.
just because it doesn't
You
say
can't explain
explicitly.
how they banned it. All you know is that
Yeah,
the people
they
who
go
ran
in and they
4chan
moderate and
disagreed with it.
they remove the topics and they remove the posts.
That's shadow banning. That's shadow banning.
What are you
Okay,
talking?
we're
I don't
okay.
think
Hold
have
on.
you used forums before?
Wait, we're only
Moderators
gonna
have a
be.
considerable discretion about what they
If
decide
you
to
want,
remove and not.
maybe I'm wrong on that specific definition, but either way, I don't think that this is really how it worked because we
Yeah.
know that GamerGate docs people. That's a fact. We know that they tried talking about it
Actually, we
openly
don't
on
know that that's a
4chan
fact.
boards. We know that they tried talking about it openly on 4chan boards, and that's probably why they left because they could no longer do that anymore.
Yeah.
And end of statement.
Yeah. I think this is where the disagreement is, and I don't want to get hung up on this specific thing for like 5 more minutes or so. So we're gonna move back to the feminine, the misogyny thing, and let's move on to the next point. So what's the next point of disagreement?
Tax said he had things written down. He can take
Okay.
Okay, so you said that GamerGate wanted to ignore the feminist critiques of video games. Do you think it's okay to disagree with feminists?
Sure. Yeah.
Do you think that disagreeing with them is inherently harassing?
Nope.
Do you think that if you have a bunch of GamerGate people and they're being criticized very heavily by people who have a certain ideology, including the games journalists themselves, right? Mr. Wilson's article, for instance, and Anita Sarkeesian, who's saying that GamerGaters are harassing me because I'm a woman. When GamerGaters are like, no, we're not harassing you. What are you talking about? Do you think that they might reasonably start disagreeing with some of the cancel culture stuff, some of the anti-social justice warrior stuff, and might find themselves in opposition to this to some extent?
What I find funny is that these people who have been through harassment and have been through doxing and have received threats have receipts for it. So it's very unlikely that they can just make this up and attribute it to them.
Oh, I've
being
got
a
receipts
woman.
too. Do you want to talk about Zack Attack?
Whereas on the other hand, I feel like it's a little bit more likely, especially on the internet, where if you know the internet, you know how it works, that a bunch of people saying, we're not doxing somebody, well, because it's particularly true that a large portion of them weren't doxing people while they were standing by for the doxing that was going on, while they were technically okay with it. I'm just saying, if you know internet culture, the latter scenario, far more likely.
Sorry, someone sent me a DM. I told them they want to come on the stream, and I said this is a one-on-one.
Don't get distracted.
Enthusiastic
Do not
people.
get distracted. Do not get distracted whatsoever. Okay, concentrate only on this. Yeah, please.
I appreciate their enthusiasm at least.
So I don't see why it's unreasonable, because you don't want to conflate these different things. Like you want to say harassment and disagree with
Because
feminists.
they have receipts. Because they have receipts of being threatened. They have been.
I'm sure people did threaten them. I'm sure that 0.66% of Gamergaters did threaten them too. And I think that that's condemnable.
So you do see how they're going to relate that to them using feminist critiques, right?
What do you mean?
Well, because there are plenty of women's and games journalists who didn't receive the same treatment, and particularly when they brushed up against the hashtag of Gamergate, that suddenly things fell on them. Particularly Brianna Wu. Brianna Wu made a passing glance at the movement, and then hellfire rained down on her. She hadn't even done anything wrong.
Well, Gamergate didn't harass Brianna Wu. We didn't care about Brianna Wu. Brianna Wu tried to inject herself into the conversation, and that's fine. She's open to having her opinion. But if you want to come in and say, "Oh, well, you're harassing me because of my opinion," or "You're harassing me because I'm a woman," that's not right.
So this
in
is
fact,
again someone who has
I want to show you
receipts of
something.
the harassment. I'm just going to point out this is someone who has receipts of their harassment, of the threats that they received, and that they felt like they needed to leave their place for a while. And this person said they were trying to inject themselves with one singular tweet, which is hard to even read as a direct criticism of Gamergate. I can bring it up if you'd like.
Do you want to bring up her Steam post?
Or was it a Steam post? No, not a tweet.
Oh, I've got the link. Don't worry.
Yeah, so do I.
I mean, she's tweeted tons about Gamergate too, I'm sure. But
If you guys want to bring up anything individual like receipts and stuff, I'm more than happy to pull it up for the stream. However, we can't like bring up like literally every single one of like the 5,000 things, if that makes sense, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I want you to bring up Brianna Wu's tweet here if you don't mind. Do I post it in public research or do I post it on something else?
Just anything that lets me see it. But also it's better if the public can see it as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna post it in the.
You can also just share your screen through Watch.
Oh yeah, actually that works.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'll just put it up on my screen. Okay.
Whoa.
All right.
Suddenly my lighting went all weird. Oh, it's the sunlight. Yep. Of course that's going to find a way to happen still.
All right, Tachyon, give us context, please.
Okay. Are you able to see it?
Yes.
I'm not
I
being
poured
able
up
to
on
screenshare
screen
on
right
my
now.
end for some reason.
Actually, I'll screenshot on my end for you guys.
Okay, that works. So this is Brianna Wu posting this topic on her own forums.
Mm-hmm. Wait, her own forums? Like not even Gamergate?
It's the Steam forums for her game. Is GSX head of development and noted feminist Brianna Wu a terrible person? 8chan, Gamergate, and Kotaku in action. Knock yourselves out. Now, if I want to be, why would she make this? Why would she make this post harassing herself? And then it seems like
so
by
people already
claiming
knew that was Brianna Wu for one thing, so this isn't disingenuous or anything. Secondly, do you think that this warrants harassment because of from Gamergate?
I don't think Gamergate harassed her. You might be able to find individuals in Gamergate who did, but
then Gamergate harassed her.
So if I could find one person,
part of the Gamergate movement.
If I can find one person among over 10,000 people who are involved in this, then it's harassment. Then Gamergate's responsible.
I like how you have to hinge this on like the idea that one person harassing another person turns into someone claiming that they're being persecuted by Gamergate. But likewise, like you have to give this person a little bit more credit than I just don't believe them.
Well, it seems like they have a financial incentive. And I could show
They
that
they
Brianna Wu is
do?
making over $13,000 a month in donations
Wait,
because she claimed
so
harassment
so by that
by
logic, the
Gamergate.
incentive to radicalize young white cishet men who are afraid of being left out of the discussion in Gamergate seems like a viable way to get them to start harassing feminist gamers, no?
What? No, there's no incentive to
It would
harass
make
anybody as
sense.
a general matter because it just all it does
You
is
don't think the far right wants to harass feminist people out of spaces?
I'm sure some people who are far right do. I'm sure people who are far left do. I'm sure people who are woke SJWs do. In fact, so you want to pull this up here? Interesting how Brianna Wu comes in. She makes these posts on her forums, and she's like, "Gamergaters are harassing me. Gamergaters are evil." And then she gets
This post you posted
$13,000
doesn't
a month.
even show a direct link
I posted it in
from.
the general channel.
Yeah, and Anita Sarkeesian did a crowdfund because she was making a video. You haven't shown that she didn't make anything worth that amount of money.
What was Brianna Wu creating? And why
Wasn't
did it
she
all
running for
happen after?
office? Wasn't she running for office?
She was not running for office in 2014, 2015. What are you talking about?
Right. So she was making games and she was posting about them. That's all you've proven so
No,
far.
she made a game, and then that's more power to her. She made a game, good for her. That's
And she
great.
posted things tangential to Gamergate, but certainly you have yet to post something that would warrant any harassment at all.
I don't think she deserves to get harassed. So I think
Right,
that she
but
has a
like
financial incentive. I think she has a financial incentive making $13,000 a month for claiming that she was harassed from Gamergate by Gamergate supporters, and then going every single day and tweeting about Gamergate pretty much, and going on tons and tons and tons of media tours and talking to journalists from all over the country saying that Gamergaters are trying to destroy my life. Gamergaters hate women. She and then she's making $13,000 a month while doing it.
well, this is kind of how Gamergaters shoot themselves in the foot. Like they really try to set up this thing where they smear this person before they even really say much. Then that person gets attention from the media that's already pushing back on Gamergate, so that bolsters them up since people are already kind of sick of it. And then that person profits from that increased attention that Gamergate generated trying to smear them. So far, you haven't even shown me that the attention Brianna Wu received was worth it.
Well, I don't know if it's worth it or not. You have to ask her. But all I'm saying is that Gamergate doesn't have an interest in harassing Brianna Wu. Gamergate doesn't care about Brianna Wu.
No, it clearly did because there's clearly more going on here, including misogyny and violent culture than just ethics in game journalism.
We
I'd
care.
agree that if it were just ethics in game journalism, she's done literally nothing wrong. But so far as you've shown, but I can't. But if it is about ethics in game journalism, then her actual treatment that she's talked about having, that you can't just say goes away without ignoring victims, seems to be disproportionate to anything to do with that.
I'm not even sure what your argument is. You're trying to make here is. All I'm trying to
That,
say is.
that if it were about what you said it was about, Brianna Wu probably wouldn't have been harassed.
Do you think that if somebody makes false accusations against you, that you have the right to defend yourself?
Sure. Where's the false accusations?
That Gamergate is a hate mob that's trying to destroy her life. That Gamergaters
No,
are sexist.
she said
Gamergaters.
So she said that there are people who are destroying her life, and it's because of her brush with Gamergate. That's not the same thing as Gamergate as a movement of people trying to destroy her life.
No, she's gone media tours saying that Gamergate is trying to destroy her.
Tours. That doesn't discount what I said. You're reframing what
if she wanted to caveat her statement and say, "Hey, look, this person harassed me. That person looks like they are actually a supporter of Gamergate. I've done the research. Looks like they are." Okay, then yeah, absolutely, I'll condemn that person 1,000%.
So you don't think that people can make natural associations between them rushing with a movement that has already harassed other female game
but it hasn't,
developers
though.
journalists?
And there were you guys were harassing tons of people.
It had harassed Zoe Quinn. It had harassed Anita Sarkeesian. It had harassed several other people that
Yet you have yet to prove any of
but
this.
brushed past. You can only brush past these instances of victims. But once we actually examine the victims, all you can do is pretend like it didn't happen.
Wait, did I ever say that they were never harassed by anybody? If you
So
actually
here's her
look
own
at,
quote. By attacking me so viciously, they're helping give me visibility to usher in the very game industry they're terrified about.
yeah, okay, good for her. But she wants to make money by claiming that GamerGate's harassing her, and she has a
I think
financial incentive to keep this narrative going.
I'll agree that Gamergate isn't this like coordinated, super constructed conspiracy or anything like that. It's mostly reactionary tendencies fueled by internalized misogyny and the alt-right. However, it seems to me that what they're when they're angry at like people for critiquing it, what they're most mad is that they're angry that people can actually call it out.
Call out what?
The ethical issues with Gamergate.
What do you think the ethical issues with GamerGate are?
Everything I've just described Gamergate as to this point.
Well, all you've said is that
There's
GamerGate
nothing
harassed these
ethical about
people,
any of those
even though there's no
behaviors.
evidence that GamerGate harasses these people.
There's nothing ethical about any of those behaviors. So honestly, if you're going to have a discussion about ethics in games journalism, you should be a bigger proponent of denouncing that than trying to excuse it.
When did I ever denounce? When did I ever not denounce harassment?
No, well, sorry. You can also minimize. You can silence victims. That's part of like denouncing.
So if you have two communities of people, and one community says that, you know what, the GamerGaters are evil sexists, and they're all harassing me, and I don't like it, and that they're evil and they hate women, and then the other group's like, no, you're full of shit, and you don't see why they're going to be in opposition with one another. Now that doesn't mean harassment. That doesn't mean harassment. Right. But you're like, oh, why would if GamerGate's about ethics? Why would they care about Brianna Wu? GamerGate cares about Brianna Wu insofar as Brianna Wu is lying about GamerGate.
So you're shifting between them reacting to ethics in game journalism to them reacting to what people particularly said and the feminist critiques. I find this. I don't think it's either or. I think it was ultimately there were people in there who thought that they cared about games journalism, but deep down inside, the feminist critiques made them worry that they, as white cis het males, were part of the problem, and they wanted to push back on that just kind of instinctively to protect their own egos. And
right, we just saw a bunch of those cishet white males on video a few minutes ago.
Okay, sure. And so the reason that movement took hold is because when you inject feminist critique in a system that can only think one dimensionally, because they basically identify with the culture as it exists, then they feel like it's a personal attack. I'm not going to disagree. They felt like certain things were personal attacks, but the fact that they were misled to be worse than it was is exactly what made Gamergate so misogynist. These people literally couldn't handle the idea that gaming could be a little bit less sexist. And I'm just going to say the way that they acted really shows their internalized misogyny expressed in real life, that contempt and that prejudice.
Yeah, I don't know what this whole weird trying to frame things as like the GamerGaters were a bunch of white men who had internalized misogyny or hated themselves or whatever. I don't understand what the purpose of this framing is.
I understand the purpose of you framing things as, they just disagreed with these people.
Yeah.
Because that really minimizes intentions. But when we look at like the fact that the movement would build up steam as it got more attention and then lose steam as like people started to disfavor it, you can see that it was also like this momentum of the movement behind it. People, gamers, maybe ordinary gamers, would enter this movement, be told that their thoughts about their initial reaction to feminism was actually profound and a matter of ethics in games journalism, and then radicalized into hate campaigns. And if you can't define Gamergate as a hate campaign, then I don't think you have the tools to analyze whether or not there was misogyny there or not.
I'm just seeing, why isn't any of this documented? Where is this hate campaign? Because it's not showed up in the data.
What do you think a hate campaign is?
Well, I don't know. You're the one who keeps using the word. Define it for me, please.
Well, how do you think a hate campaign would look in the data?
I don't know I guess it would involve like people doxing people and trying to send them like tons of death threats, and like that's the purpose of the campaign. That's what I imagine would probably look like, right?
Right. So all the people, all the names of the victims from Gamergate that are mentioned by the left were doxed. Doxing was incredibly frequent. It was probably one of the most used strategies above just like threats and harassment. So I don't know how you can say that that wasn't in the data because there's tons of data on who was doing the doxing.
It turns out it wasn't Gamergate people. Shocking.
No, it was. It's just it was a fraction of them, while the rest of the people egged it on.
Why do you think we egged it on? What evidence do you have of
You,
that?
honestly, if you could show me more evidence of people saying our tactics, and mind you, there were plenty of people who said we have to hide our tactics that way it's not obvious to normies. But if you can find someone saying our tactics are hateful, like this is not the way to do.
They wouldn't say that because our tactics weren't hateful, right?
Well, you don't think someone would at least say like this has nothing to do with ethics in game journalism?
Gamergate's not just about ethics in games journal, but that's one aspect of it.
That's supposedly what fueled it. No, that was what they literally said they were activists about.
Did you not hear my opening statement? I said that I was also that my main concern was creative freedom.
Creative freedom, such as the creative freedom of a feminist to post critiques about video games and not receive harassment for it.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I don't think anybody should harass Anita Sarkeesian. I
Except
don't
they
think
didn't value that form of creative freedom. They valued the creative freedom of upholding norms that harm women.
Who's they?
That's what they advocated for. The activists, the Gamergaters. You keep asking who's they, but the object that we're operating on, that we're acting on, has been the same this whole time. The Gamergaters.
You and I disagree. Am I harassing you right now?
You keep asking this question like you don't understand what harassment is. Let's look at the definition real quick. Illegal behavior towards a person, well, we can discount illegal, that causes mental or emotional suffering, which includes repeated unwanted contacts without a reasonable purpose. So do you think that every time that someone approached Anita Sarkeesian, it was reasonable?
Every time a person approached Anita Sarkeesian, a major
Well,
public
let's say
figure.
50%. Let's say 50%. Do you think 50% of the time that someone on the internet reached out to Anita Sarkeesian over her feminist critiques, that she received reasonable people critiquing her and trying to engage with her?
From the Gamergate community, I'm sure it was over 50%. They were reasonable. In
See,
fact, I think it was probably like 99% based on the data. Or if you want to use the negative sentiment data, then we can look at about 98%. See, I've got data on my side here. You're just saying like, well, someone sent a tweet. That person might have been Gamergate, might not have been. Who knows? Anyway, Gamergate are harassers. That's your argument.
right, but your data doesn't actually describe what the victims went through. All it does is kind of obfuscate things. As I pointed out in the DMs, like I've clearly laid out how it actually is a hate campaign, the things about it that make a hate campaign. And I have more points on that if you'd like. Here,
Oh,
let me point out
please.
some. Okay. So for example, Zoe Quinn's whole like stuff, that like for starters, the article that you linked to with her being mentioned 3 times, the second time was just like her picture being in a banner for the article, so I'm discounting that. So we'll say 2, and in neither of those 2 is there a favorable review. So I don't see how she could have had exchanged checks for favorable reviews. And this really actually matches with the sort of incel anxieties of women do all these things with their bodies, and it's really and I can't do that, and it's really unfair to me. And it seems like especially like that campaign against her, and whether it was hateful or not, there was a campaign. It could have ended. Particularly when otaku, whatever, they stated the facts on it all, and they did not side with the Gamergaters. And things went quiet until the fine young capitalist basically released this thing that was supposed to reveal everything. It's largely disagreed about on the experts who study this, or largely disagreed with by the experts who study this. And then by that time, or sorry, and then by the time that Tropes and Woman versus Tropes came out, sorry, by the time that Woman versus Tropes came out, she received basically a second wave of hatred. So these things are not just hate campaigns, they come in waves. Anita Sarkeesian has faced like 5 of them.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, obviously, I suppose oppose any sort of harassment. But anyway, you want to talk about Nathan Grayson? If I can ever, okay. Shoot, I want you to pull this up on stream.
Can you
Okay.
explain to me? Just give me your best explanation why this whole thing about him couldn't have ended at a discussion.
Well, do you think that Nathan Grayson did nothing wrong?
I honestly like ethics in game journalism and stuff like that is not something I think much
Well,
about.
you brought it up.
So,
You said that GamerGators.
so his behavior
That
and
Stephen
his
Totillo.
actions.
You said that
So
Stephen
his
Totillo
behaviors
investigated.
and his actions are highly subjective, in my opinion, from an outsider view. No.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
Well, okay. Nathan's actions, how you interpret them, are highly subjective. I'm just an outsider. So from an outsider, I would say no, they weren't bad. But there could be things about ethics and game journalism that matter that I haven't considered. So I don't like answering that question necessarily. I'm just asking you to detail. I'm asking you to detail. I'm asking you to convict this person, be the judge, jury, and executioner, and tell us why we should think of this person as not just being yet another games journalist in the media.
Okay, yeah, sure. So Nathan Grayson he published 3 articles about Zoe Quinn or her games.
No, he published 2.
No, he published
one of
3.
the articles was not about her. One of the articles not about her.
It
Just had a
quotes
picture
her in
in
it. It quotes her in it.
The second example, your first example, number 2, is just a picture.
No, I'm talking about if you go into the
So he really only posted
Reddit post
2
I
articles that
created.
mentioned her name, and neither of them are necessarily favorable reviews. Is the point?
No one's talking about reviews. Why do you keep trying to make it about reviews for some reason?
So they weren't even necessarily about her. They were about things that she was involved in.
No,
Her
it's
name
about
came up.
her game.
Her name
and
came
he
up.
promoted her game over. I swear to God, Firefox won't let me pass
No,
this.
one the third
Foodshops,
one is
bring it
about
on
some
screen
sort
and
of,
show it, please.
The third one was about some sort of reality show to do with games journalists, or show that
Sure.
to do with games journalists she was involved in. And the first one is again something that she was a part of. I did read them.
Yeah, and did you notice anything unusual? Anything unusual about the second article in particular?
That her face appeared in a picture?
Her face? I don't believe her face is on it.
Okay, let me read from your source what it was. Grayson conflicts of interest. Number 1. First article in Grayson's second article, he uses a screenshot of her game for an image header. Singers Love Depression Quest at the start. Lists her game in the main list and tags the article to question as a true. But like that's it. Like there's nothing here about like it gave it really good reviews or anything like that.
No one's talking about reviews.
It's
Shoot
probably
Chops,
because
you don't want to bring up the evidence. Shoot Chops, can you bring up the evidence in the
Oh, I
Discord?
clicked that. Oh, sorry, I wasn't sharing my screen. Sorry, let me share my screen. Okay. Oh, okay.
So number 3.
So
This is extremely short, by the way. I can read this.
Is it Admission Quest?
No,
is it this one?
Yeah, Admission Quest. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Is this what you want me to?
Yes, please. If you can screenshot
So
that.
Okay.
I don't think this is about Zoe Quinn. This isn't about Zoe Quinn.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, this isn't about Zoe Quinn.
Okay, so if I can show that it is, would you be wrong? We can see that point.
Well, let me I'm gonna Control F. Zoe Quinn. Maybe you want to do it too. Oh no, not there. Let me just put Quinn just to make sure.
No, we're not talking about Zoe Quinn. I said Zoe Quinn or her games.
So just mentioning a game that exists is the same as her getting favors?
No.
So
this is still not screen sharing on our end.
Oh, wait. I thought it was. Wait, yeah,
I'm looking at it anyways. You also have the link. You don't need to screen share it on our end. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking at it. Admission Quest. I got it from your source.
Yes.
I can do my own heavy lifting.
Yeah, also I'm sharing it on stream. Like the viewers can see it. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and
So if you
pull it
want
up
to
on.
point out where specifically this talks about Zoe Quinn, go ahead.
Okay, so it doesn't talk about Zoe Quinn. It talks about her game.
But
He
it's not
he
even
he highlights her
so.
game over 47 other games.
Wow, that's a lot of other games, isn't it?
Yeah,
Do you think he
indeed.
had sex with all those people? Do you think he had sex with all those people?
And strange in Mission Quest. Funny how the title of the article is a play on her game, and why he's using a screenshot of her game
That's what
more than the
writers do,
other
isn't it, though?
49. Maybe not if you're friends with people who, if they're your friend, you shouldn't
No,
be
you
doing that
pick
now.
out like if you're going to theme what you actually write instead, not just your list, but what you actually write under a game that you've picked out of the list, and use that as like a centerpiece for what it means. It doesn't necessarily mean you've had sex with somebody. That just means that you're a writer.
I don't care if you
and
had
thought
sex
it
with
would be a
anybody or
little
not.
bit dull, and you thought it would be a little bit dull if you just listed off 47 or 48 games.
What? Why do you think that if you have a
This
relationship
is just
with somebody,
writing 101. This is just
do you
basic
think?
writing.
Hang on. Do you think that if you have a relationship with somebody, whether it's a close friendship, a sexual relationship, a romantic relationship, or whatever, and you're promoting their game over 49 other games, do you think that you should probably disclose that, or maybe even recuse yourself from writing the article?
They're not promoted over the other games. In
They
fact,
are
this,
though.
like I said, this is particularly theming the way that they approach the article. They don't say that this is necessarily better than the other games.
Okay, so if I say, look at this.
In fact, it mentions
Anyway,
several standouts. It mentions
Powerful
yeah.
Twine Darling, Depression Quest, the #1 standout. There's only 2 other standouts listed. Also,
Tango.
why are
so
only
he had sex with those two other people too?
No one's saying that you're being so dishonest.
So could it be possible?
Nobody is saying.
Do game journalists ever enjoy a game?
It's whether or not he likes it or not is completely irrelevant to whether or
that's
not he has an
entirely
ethical obligation to either disclose or recuse himself when he has a conflict of interest. Does it not?
They were no longer. I'm pretty sure when this was written, they were no longer dating.
Whether they were no longer dating or not is irrelevant. He has a conflict of interest. Yeah, this was.
Do you think that Do you think that 2 game journalists could possibly just date? Or sorry, 1 game journalist and a game developer could ever just date? And
yeah, but then you can't cover their games then.
There was nothing published while they were dating.
Okay, do you want to look at? Okay, do you want to do the timeline? I can do the timeline because
So,
I've got this stuff all down. I'm gonna go ahead and link something else. Foodshops, if you please.
I don't remember where it started. They ended in 2012.
Yeah, sure.
I don't remember where it started, but they ended in 2012. Don't you see how like overreacting to someone's relationship seems a little bit misogynistic when you're specifically have a hate campaign for the woman more than the man? Like Nathan Grayson receives some hate, but
I don't support harassing anybody. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the proportionality between what Grayson received and what Zoe Quinn received shows that they didn't actually care, because if they did, they would have targeted most of their hate at Grayson, and we would have been hearing about how Grayson was the victim here and not Quinn. But clearly they were mad, partially because some dude had a relationship. They're mad at the woman because of their internalized misogyny, and they just find it easier to target women, it seems.
I have it up on stream.
Okay. So if you go through the evidence on this, the articles were published. Wrote the second article on January 8th, 2014. He did not disclose that he's in the credits of the game either. If you're in the credits of a video game, do you think that you should be required to disclose that or recuse yourself as a games journalist?
So he was in the credits of Depression Quest?
Yeah.
As what? An executive producer?
Special thanks, I believe, but
okay.
So do you? If you're in the credits of the game, should you be required to
special thanks literally means anything. It could have been that he was there at the studio with Quinn because they were dating, and he gave some feedback on stuff.
Yeah, and if you have that kind of a relationship with somebody who's making a game, do you think that you should be required to recuse yourself?
No, if he just gave some minor feedback and they appreciated it, and so they put him under the special thanks, I don't think that there's a huge conflict of interest.
You don't think that that you having this close personal relationship with somebody is a conflict of interest?
I think we're really blurring the lines between like clear scandals where like clearly she had sex for favorable reviews versus these things being like,
No, why
like
did I say favorable reviews? You're the one who's talking about reviews.
this is what Gamergate was mad about.
No,
This
that's
is
what
the
Stephen
crux.
Totillo said that Gamergate is mad about. And besides, Gamergate, this is a minor scandal. This would have blown
Right,
over in
you're
2
you're
weeks if
right.
not for the Gamers Are Dead articles.
The majority of people who look at it with from an outside lens define it that way, but your way is clearly your brand. You need to rebrand it a certain way, so that way it's as far removed from a hate campaign as possible. Because I think deep down inside, maybe you do know it is a hate campaign, but you need, these are rhetorical strategies, much as Gamergate has been known to use.
Yeah. It's funny how we defend ourselves, and you're like, oh well, deep down inside, you know that you're a misogynist.
You know, when
So
people defend
dishonest.
themselves, though, they tend to like it tends to reflect their actions and behavior. If we want to say that these people defended themselves, we have to explain why their actions and behavior reflected more of a hate campaign than somebody who was under duress. The actions of Zoe Quinn, Anita Sarkeesian, and just because I can name so many, Brianna Wu, definitely reflected how victims act in these circumstances versus a mob of people who are fueled by hate.
Well, again, where did I ever say that they haven't been harassed? I'm sure Anita Sarkeesian's been harassed. I'm sure Brianna Wu's been harassed. I'm sure Zoe Quinn's been harassed.
If
I've
the
been
end result
harassed.
of
I
the
was doxxed
movement
from Gamergate. Tons of Gamergate people
if
were doxxed.
If the end result of the movement, though, is that women are the one being doxxed, women are the one being harassed, yet you just said Gray's name more times than Zoe Quinn's, I think that there was a double standard there causing the movement to target women more than the men.
You seem to think that Gamergaters are
Who wrote
doxing
these
Loey Quinn.
articles? Yeah, they did. She was doxxed.
Well,
You
hang
can't
on,
get around
hang
this
on.
fact. It's
That's.
just a fact.
Are you capable of addressing the claims that I actually make?
I'm trying.
Okay.
They're
So
they're rather detached from reality, but I'm trying.
So you're saying that Gamergaters harass these people, and that like apparently Gamergaters are doxing these people, but you've not been able to demonstrate that. The Zoe Quinn in particular was considered a lol cow, and she was gone after by the Kiwi Farms. She was gone after by Baphomet. She was gone
She was
after
considered
by
a lol cow. That's a good start to your statement. I'm just saying.
no.
Is it?
She was being harassed by a large number of people and communities online. The people who the Christian people. They'd be like, oh, well, everybody who's in this is Gamergate. There were huge numbers of third-party trolls that went after people, including myself, and went after us and doxed us on our side too.
No, they probably consider themselves to be anti-fascist, but whatever.
What?
What I like here, let
Okay,
me
okay. Oh, wait, hang on. Do you think it's okay to dox Gamergate people?
if they were trying to have a proper discussion, what happened, and you might have different facts on this, but this is from somebody who claims to have done the best research that they can on this to have a published video autopsy, and they do link a lot of sources that seem to corroborate what they say. That the Gamergate hashtag on Twitter was actually a bit of a battleground. At some point, people were saying to the Gamergaters, why don't you take hamburger and fries, run over there with that, say all your stupid shit, leave this particular hashtag for the discussion, so that way all the people who are acting like little shits on here aren't getting in the way of the people who actually do care about ethics and game journalism. Well, here's how that went, because the real root of the argument is this hate campaign. They spammed the Gamergate hashtag with furry porn, so that way they couldn't talk about it. And I think that that's really interesting. That they seem more afraid than the actual people who were trying to engage with them of talking about actual ethics and game journalism, because every time that they had a chance to kind of make a bridge across the river and say, yes, okay, now this is where the discussion begins, they just acted like little shits in the end.
So I'm not gonna let you with that dog whistle you did there. You said I said
Dog
that
whistle?
tons of Gamergate people were
No,
doxxed, and you're
which
like,
one was the
oh, they
dog whistle?
probably think of themselves as anti-fascists. So do you think it's okay to
No,
dox
you
people?
realize that like people who engage with online behavior like that from the left, there are some extremists who
They
are
weren't
just
from
like
the left.
you
A lot of
can't be reached.
them were just trolls who who didn't really give a shit one way or the other, and they just wanted to troll the fuck out of everybody.
So you know that they weren't from the left. You know that there weren't leftists and feminists.
I don't know. Is the leftist?
There's the N-word.
Yeah, that's the name of their group. It's a trolling group that attacked GamerGate and anti-GamerGate both.
All right.
I'm honestly, I feel like I've gotten the win here. Like,
Did
yeah,
you not
sure.
have to say that
Okay.
directly?
Okay. GNAA.
Please.
The GNAA.
Please.
The,
okay.
I'm not someone who's afraid of words.
Work.
Okay, I think it depends on the context in which you use them. In this case, I'm quoting the name.
Sure, yeah, but like, just edit. Okay, whatever. Just keep going. Yeah.
All right. So the GNAA.
I love that went that started with dog whistles and ended with him saying the N word. Just saying.
Okay. You know what? I don't think that people should be afraid
All right,
of words.
back to the subject. Back to the subject. Sexism, misogyny, GamerGate. Go.
So you do think it's okay to dox GamerGate people?
No.
Okay. So you condemn those involved in Zack Attack?
I'm not particularly familiar with that event. To be fair, there were like hundreds of events. I'm not denying that.
It's strange how this hate campaign that somehow, just wants to drive India Sarkeesian and Brianna Wu out of gaming.
On the face of it, I disagree with
events.
it. On the face of it, I disagree with it, but it's been I think I've demonstrated time and time again that you frame things in a way that suits your narrative to begin with, but then we examine it and it actually starts to fall apart. So I'm only agreeing to your framing of the Zack Attack thing, that if he was doxxed and he was a GamerGater, then I would prefer he wasn't.
No. Zack Attack's not a real person. Zachary Miller was a fictional character that Mombot and Rudderhouse created so that they infiltrated the anti-GG community. And they got a bunch of the anti-GamerGate e-celebs, including Paul Hofstein, Izzy Galvez, 9volt, Krimitz, FUI Work, Royal Holiness, and Matt Myers, and as well as 4 other smaller names in the anti-GamerGate community, to enter a private group chat, and in there they wanted to dox Mombot, a prominent GamerGate supporter. This is all documented. We've got the logs from the private group, and
I already said that I don't think gaming doxing the other side matters, so just apply the same logic.
Okay, so it doesn't matter when GamerGaters get doxed. It only matters when anti-GamerGaters get doxed, right?
Sure. So, I wanna get your perspective on something. Do you think that the alt-right, the people who eventually turned this into Pizzagate, and there is a timeline drawn there too, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. The people like Mike Cernovich, Alex Jones, Steve Bannon, Sargon of Akkad, who built up their brand on Gamergate, ultimately only to be some of the most hate-filled, vitriolic people on the internet. Do you think that that just happened out of spontaneously, or don't you think it sort of supports my argument that this smaller hate campaign led to these careers of hate mongers?
I think that I think there's a number of different things. I think that the anti-social justice warrior YouTube space had a incentive, including a financial incentive, to move to the right. And then I also think that the anti-social justice warrior community had been trending in that direction, had been moved in that direction, which of course I know your view, you've said it before, is that everyone who criticized social justice warriors was already like a far-right fascist. But
no, I didn't say that.
You did 2 days ago on Foodshops stream.
That was a different context. It wasn't in a vacuum, but okay.
Well, what's the context then?
I don't remember the specific context, but I don't believe that necessarily a vacuum. I believe that there are certain ways that is true, and I don't want to go through them right now because we're getting into the weeds.
Well, I want to get into the weeds here because you do think that everyone who criticized the social justice thing is a misogynist, right? Everyone who criticized the social justice warriors. No?
No, I think they're reactionaries.
Oh,
I think people who use the
thing,
term social justice warrior have been duped by the far right to use terms that are ultimately meaningless in the end.
So you don't think that there's any utility at all in discussing people who want to silence other people, people who believe that game developers shouldn't make games and don't believe in creative freedom and want to oppose that?
When you're trying to fix a discussion against the progressive side of the argument, when it's very clear that the right wing is the absolute worst at doing that while they're also trying to levy this discussion, then I think you're kind of missing the why the discussion is happening half the time to begin with. Not saying it never happens genuinely, but it is also a political prop for many, many reactionaries.
I think that if people are engaging in behavior that they consider to be illiberal, that they consider themselves to be liberals who are opposed to illiberal behavior, such as censorship, such as placing such a huge amount of emphasis on race and gender, where everyone who disagrees with you is a white man, and saying things like this, I think that when you do that sort of thing, that should be called out. I think that should be criticized. I think those are bad positions for people to hold, and I
So
think
in those
that
statistics about Gamergate movement, I have some that analyze, how white, cis, het, and male they were. Did you also find the same majority? Like
about
vast
like
majority,
80.
disproportionate.
Well, it's 75% roughly white, which is about in line with the United States of America, and it's about like 85% male, which isn't too shocking given that
America
it's
is 75% white? I thought it was less than that after we counted all minorities.
well, to be clear, the polls didn't have a separation between Hispanic and white. It was just white, black, Asian, Native American, and
Well, mine didn't. Mine did. Mine made the distinction. It was still like quite a disproportionate amount of people who were white and male getting behind this.
yeah,
That's
70.
not to
Well,
say
it's
like you have to
75%.
be.
Okay, do you want to get into the
Nobody's
demographics
saying
of GamerGate now? We can do this. I got all this
nobody
written
says
down.
you have to be. But here's the thing: is that GamerGate is a lot less threatening to you if that's who you are, because it really seems like the violence was directed towards people who are increasingly female, increasingly black, and increasingly transgender. Basically, the more invisible you are in society, the more targetable you were by the movement.
So, what about what about the pro GamerGate people, including women and minorities who are more likely to be harassed in GamerGate by anti-GamerGaters?
I can't speak to those individuals for whatever reasons they felt like it made sense, but I think that they missed what Gamergate was actually doing, because if you look at what Gamergate actually did, it does not match up with their rhetoric.
What do you mean by that?
Gamergate said that they cared about ethics and journalism. They really didn't push any new theories or any change on ethics and journalism. What they did do is they harassed a bunch of women and they fueled the alt-right.
So, you really okay? So, GamerGate is not just about ethics and games journalism. That's one aspect of GamerGate. Again, there's many aspects of
That was the
GamerGate.
rhetorical crux for them. That's what they were using to make themselves seem like their intentions were good.
Because a lot of people cared about ethics. They also cared about other topics as well. And also some people
Well, it's
only
really
cared about
easy to
ethics.
say that. It's really easy to say that. The hard part is actually bringing out the outcomes that show that you cared about it. And I think if we look at actions more than we look at words, it's not as easy for
No,
them to
because
say that.
GamerGate didn't harass anybody. You yourself have not contested any of the data on harassment.
Right. You really need me to show you the harassment, because I'm going to tell you right now, the majority of people understand Gamergate as a movement that harassed women one way or another. When we're getting into the details of misogyny, these things might matter, but I really think that like you've missed, like you've had all this timeline stuff, but you missed the part where the women were actually harassed. Isn't that kind of telling?
I don't
That
consider
for
that to be
you,
relevant to GamerGate.
interesting. You don't
Yeah.
think that, well, especially in an argument where we're asking if there were misogynistic tendencies in it, right? Where I'm pointing out that these women were disproportionately targeted with means that have nothing to do with ethics and game journalism.
But you haven't
Because
demonstrated
not
that they're targeted by
misogyny.
GamerGate. One, you haven't demonstrated that they're targeted by GamerGate. We know that
Yes.
the vast majority of people in
Yes, I
GamerGate
have.
did not engage in harassment, over
So
99%.
you think people are just making up that these women got harassed because of Gamergate?
And then you say that
think this is all
GamerGate,
just being pulled out of thin air?
I think it's a mix of different things. I think that part of it is that there were trolling groups involved. I think part of it too is that Brianna Wu, at least we do have evidence that she did either harass herself or at the very least wanted to encourage trolls to harass her, which obviously would not justify the
He
trolls
did it to
doing so.
himself. Typical victim blaming.
Well, we have evidence of that. We've demonstrated it on stream. You yourself saw the evidence,
No,
correct?
you didn't. You showed one post where she talked about something maybe tangential to Gamergate.
No, come on. Don't be this dishonest. Don't be
Okay,
this
I wasn't
dishonest.
convinced by what you showed that that had anything to do with her begging for attention to be harassed.
So you
All
don't
she
think
ever
that
said,
making a post on your forums and saying is Brianna Wu a terrible person under your own account and then deleting it 16 minutes later or shortly
she
thereafter?
probably meant it as a joke. She was probably being ironic because she knew that the people there are kind of familiar with her, and she probably makes jokes on her own forum. Hey, Foodshops, do you ever make jokes on like your own Discord server that you wouldn't make like on like this stream in particular? Not saying that they're bad or in particular, but just that you're more comfortable with people.
You're appealing to moderator opinion.
I'm just asking, do you
Okay.
feel more comfortable in your own server such that you can make jokes that might be like a little bit more silly or less grounded in reality?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. I make lots of edgy jokes on the server on general that I would not make on Twitter for sure. Yes.
So I find it funny that you're trying to reduce this harassment down to trolling, which is pretty rich, while also not being able to acknowledge that somebody's simple remark was probably just them doing self-deprecating humor in a place that they would be more comfortable in.
This is
It's
not a
not even, and like you,
hang on. This is
it's
not
people
a
who support her
community.
game.
This is not a community. This was literally there were 3
Her
posts
forums.
on the whole
You said
forum.
her forums.
Yeah, there were 3
Yeah.
posts on the whole forum, and one of them was her own post saying, "Is GSX head of development and noted feminist Brianna Wu a terrible person? 8chan, GamerGate, and Kotaku in action. Knock yourselves out." Now, if you want to be
So
charitable, you could say, okay, she just wanted to sort of she wanted to try to draw all this attention here, just because she wanted to fuck around and was, thought it'd be funny or something.
how
That's
was she
entirely
drawing
possible.
attention there? How was he drawing attention there?
You don't think you don't think that creating a post on your own forum saying, "Am I a terrible person?"
No,
on the
think
Steam
I'm
forum
guessing
for her game.
GamerGaters who are quite rabid in their need to like find info on people looked at a place where she had hardly any engagement and then found an excuse to get really mad and do what they already wanted to do, which was dox women.
How are we interested in doxing anybody?
Well, because with the internalized misogyny, as I described it, and as it is mentioned in the literature in several places, misogyny can also be a contempt for women who don't fit a normative kind of role. And in particular, I think that a lot of these women, being feminist, make easy targets for people with internalized misogyny. It's just about targeting victims. Like doxing itself
What?
doxing itself has no
So
political purpose other than to keep victims from speaking out and to push them down.
you seem to have this weird narrative, like everything that happens that you don't like is Gamergate,
But you
and
don't
like
have a
everything
narrative
that
where like
happens.
everything that happens, you don't have a narrative where everything that happens that proves that there were real victims doesn't exist.
I'm sure that real people had harassed Brianna Wu and
You,
Sarkeesian,
you
Zoe
just
Quinn, or
keep
whoever.
flopping back and
But
forth
no, see,
between it didn't happen.
you
You said Zoe Quinn wasn't harassed, and then you
wait.
say,
When
well,
did I
I'm
say
sure
she
it did
wasn't harassed?
happen.
When did I say that?
All you can do
No,
is
hey, no,
minimize
hang
it
on. Let's play it
and
back.
distance yourself from it as much
Can
as
you tell me when I
possible.
said that? I'd like to have that timestamp, please.
You want a specific
Yeah,
timestamp.
when did I say that Zoe Quinn would never received any harassment from
No,
anybody?
I want to keep having this discussion. So there is a particular theory. And I don't expect you to know it. So this is just a discussion. If you think that this might be possibly happening on the internet, where, like, you know, before the internet, it was kind of easier to have like, you could identify with those parts of the right side. You could identify with the parts of the right side that appeal to you, and form an identity around that because nobody was really saying to you, you have to pick left or you have to pick right. But now, because of the internet, we've been kind of forced into this like you have to either be totally for this thing or totally against it. Does that kind of resonate with you at all?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So, okay, so I can't remember this person's name, and then of course I buried it because I was trying to organize. Marcuse. Marcuse created this literature about technology in 1985. I forget what it's specifically called. It might have actually been called One Dimensional Man. And the one dimensional man theory posits, so I'll read what I have. The subjects of advanced industry lose their ability to critique the industry itself. Technology, politics, and culture, and the economy merge into a new culture which repulses and swallows up all alternatives. Excuse me. terrible time for gas. When people identify this new culture, they naturally retaliate against it, and the false reality becomes its own consciousness. So, in this, what I'm alluding to is, do you think that there might have been a bit of a culture of seeing feminism, or seeing like people calling out the issues of sexism in gaming, and rallying around that, and then thinking that they're really clever and being like, well, what if we say it's actually about ethics in game journalism, and then we run smear campaigns against these women? Because a lot of your narrative, and I'm trying to tie this back, seems to also rely on believing the smear campaigns from the GamerGaters. Whereas when I looked up any one of these things, I either got information that doesn't actually explain what you're talking about like you say it does, or just isn't there like you say it is.
Well, you've had to concede on the Nathan Grayson argument.
What did I concede on specifically?
Well, did you not concede? Do you not think that it's unethical?
What?
Do you not think that
What
it was unethical for Nathan Grayson to promote the games?
The only thing I conceded on
of
and I
his
didn't
of
really
someone he
concede
has a very close personal relationship with?
Like, okay, in a vacuum, here I'll concede to you this much. In a vacuum, if that's what did happen, that would be an ethics in games journalism
It's not
issue.
an if. We know what happened.
No, you don't.
We do. We have the time.
You
We have
really
the proof.
don't.
Yeah. Well,
No,
okay.
you really don't.
So
You've
okay.
pointed to some things that have like subjective meaning for you, but there's no way that normal people are going to look at this and be like, "Oh yeah, they definitely slept together."
I don't care if they slept together, and I don't care if they slept. Why would you?
Well, that's the crux of this. That's
What
the
are you
crux
talking
of it
about?
being an
No.
ethical
Whether
issue.
whether they slept
Sorry.
together or they had a
Whether
purely
she
asexual
did it, whether
romantic
she did it.
relationship, or
Sorry,
whether they were
you're right.
even close
You're
friends.
right. Let me rephrase.
It's
Whether
irrelevant.
she did it for non-ethical reasons or not. Like that doesn't. I don't read
What do
that.
you mean
and
she? I'm not talking about Zoe Quinn's behavior. I'm talking about Nathan Grayson's behavior. I don't know why you want to talk about Zoe Quinn here.
But you have no proof that he did necessarily anything because they were dating. He just mentioned her.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Oh my God. Do you think that? Okay.
In the game, in the article where he specifically seems to like the game, and that's about it. And a lot of people liked the game around that time. Just newsflash, it was a somewhat well-received game. Well, actually, very well-received. What am I saying? Why am I saying somewhat? He doesn't even mention Quinn.
Well, he doesn't have to mention her. He mentioned the product that she created. He mentioned the video game that she created.
You think he can never talk about games that are commonly being talked about and that currently exist in a neutral way just because he's dating her?
It's not a neutral way. But even also,
You
I would
know
say
that.
the standout Twine Darling Depression Quest. Also, we're gonna put screenshots of this game and none of the other
It was a
49 games.
standout indie game for its time. It really brought forth the indie game industry. That's just a fact. And like you could non-GamerGaters and GamerGaters, I'm sure you'll find agree that the game was popular even before Quinn became this object of the GamerGate's ire.
I think it was popular in like a very specific subset of the culture. Sure.
Well, that's how it pushed the indie movement forward because it was popular within the subset.
It's just
but
weird
then
that
it
you
also
don't.
grew beyond it.
Do you want to talk? Okay, it's just weird that you would think that it's okay for someone who's a journalist who's supposed to be providing you with their opinion on something, and their opinion is biased or potentially biased by
There's
the
no
fact that they
foundation
have
in
a.
this.
So if they,
Like, there's a foundation in having a clear bias, but there's no clear bias here. Just like if somebody's mad about racism in the news and they happen to have, an opposite race partner, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're mad about racism because they had an opposite sex partner. Just the same as you can enjoy a game regardless of who your partner is because it seems to be well received, so it's probably just a good game. And write about how you enjoyed it without having to make it a particularly biased review.
There were 3 aspects of the article that promoted her game. One was that he highlighted. Actually, there were 4. I'm sorry. One, he highlighted it in 2 other games. To be fair, that in 2 other games over 47 others. Then he said it was a standout Twine Darling, mentioning it before even the other 2 games that he highlighted. Then
what
he included
does Twine
screenshots.
Darling mean? What do you think Twine Darling means? Let's really unpack this.
Twine is a specific thing. There's a specific program that was used to create it. Darling, though, is a positively loaded word.
Why do you think indie gamers would consider a game that helped push the indie industry forward
I
a
don't know if it
darling
did, but
well, I do.
I'm not
Like
seeing large swaths of
I've read
games being made this
unbiased
way. But
reviews. I've read unbiased reviews about it too that also say the same thing. So unless you're implying Zoe Quinn had sex with all those people, his review was actually very underwhelming compared to other people's.
Why'd you call it a review? It's not a review. Weren't you just hitting me earlier saying that you were falsely claiming that I called it a
Because
review?
that's how you're treating it. Because that's how you're treating it.
No, it's not a review. It's an article that it praises the game, and you say, well, other people praise the game too. So
They heavily
so
praised it.
if
It
a
was
YouTuber
heavily praised and
hang
well
on,
received.
if a YouTuber receives a free item, let's say that a company sends them a gun, and they're a gun review channel, let's say, right? And they're really excited about this gun. They get a free gun for this. That's awesome. And do you think that they should have to disclose that, hey, look, I like this gun, but I also did receive it for free, and I want to make you be aware of that, okay?
So we need to be
Do you think they should be
nuanced and unpack this, but I'm going to answer first. No, I don't think they should be able to do that. But the nuanced answer is that most corporate relationships with YouTube streamers aren't just happening because people already form natural relationships with corporations in that way, at least. Dating somebody because you're in somewhat of the same industry, games journalists probably interact with game developers all the time in various different social settings. That doesn't necessarily mean that Nathan is going to be biased. He is a reporter. He has been trained probably by by some sort of accredited institution on how not to be biased. And if
Actually, that
his
training
review
thing,
was
I
even
don't know if that's true at all.
yours, and if his review was marginally biased, I would expect to see, or sorry, if his mentions were marginally biased, I wouldn't expect that he would, frame it in the way that everybody else was talking about it. I would imagine that he would say that the game is like exceptional in some way. All he said is that it really reads to me as like this game is really well received, and it's made in Twine.
It's a darling game. It's a standout darling game too. He said it's a
Darling. What do
standout.
you, if I said
And
for
he
you,
put it over.
if I said to you, Destiny is the darling of the debate world, what would you think I'm saying? Would you think I'm giving him glowing reviews or favorable mentions, or would I just be saying that the debate world truly recognizes that he's a big player and that he's sort of formed the debate movement and pushed it
It
forward?
could be interpreted either way, but you also, if you would have said, the best, most honest streamer, right? In this case, right, the standout streamer, Destiny, and you put pictures of Destiny in your article, and your title is Bestiny, right? The title of the article is Bestiny. You go ahead and throw in a
Wait. There is no that framing is false because a mission quest is not suddenly reframing the name in a way that shows bias in favor. How is that making it a more
It's promoting
positive?
her product, and he had a
10-minute
relationship
warning.
with her.
10-minute warning.
Do you think that
It's
that's not
definitely not?
okay? Let's talk
Wait,
about.
are we doing 5-minute? Are we doing 5-minute outros?
We don't have
We
to.
should start those now.
We
I
should
want it.
No, you. Okay.
I'll warn you guys at the
Hernandez.
5-minute mark. I'll warn you guys at the 5-minute mark or the 2-minute mark. Okay.
No, I want 5 minutes.
You want 5-minute outros?
He got to play a video. I'm definitely playing a video.
Oh, you want to play a video for your outro?
Oh yeah.
How long is it?
Less than 5 minutes.
Oh, how long is it exactly?
I was gonna tell you to start playing at a particular part, and then we're done when it's done because I'm just gonna be doing a quick outro, reaffirming a lot of my statements, and then, particularly get in show that video is not. I'm not just pulling the shit out of my ass. There are plenty of people who are saying what I'm saying.
Okay. But we have to match the time on Tachyon's end as well.
Yep.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying we should probably start now.
Okay, sure. All right. Then if it's okay, then we should end it here as well. Is that okay with you, Tachyon?
I mean, I could go longer, but that's fine. We agreed to 2 hours, so.
Okay. Yeah, we agreed with
We're doing
2
call-ins
hours
after, right? We're doing call-ins after, so we can address more of this later.
We can do call-ins for No, because
Oh.
I have to go after this.
Okay.
But
I could
you
do
guys can do it
call-ins.
on your own streams. You guys can do it on your own streams. Yeah.
I'm not streaming. That didn't
Oh,
work.
then Tachyon can do guys. If you guys want to do call-ins, you guys can ask Tachyon questions. I just want to give really quick thoughts after the debate is over. And for the video, right? Do you want to go first, Fox, for the video?
Sure, I didn't pick out a
Yeah.
timestamp yet, so I'm just saying I'm a little unprepared as well.
Yeah, sure.
But,
It's okay. It's okay if we don't have to match up the 2 hours exactly. It's fine. I don't care. Yeah.
but yeah, so like this is
I'll
my
do call-ins
meta-analysis.
after. So
This is my
Yeah, sure.
meta-analysis. And we had a bit of discourse in the DMs before about like what's a personal attack, what's a meta-analysis. It got heated. It was all good. Note, by the way, for the person who was going to co-moderate and got scared, I don't know if they're going to mention it. Okay,
no.
Wait, did you just say they got scared? What the fuck, dude? No,
No,
stop.
I
didn't mean to.
No,
I didn't mean
dude.
to say they got.
No,
I didn't say that.
You don't, dude. You said you fucking went after that
chill
guy,
out.
and you were saying that
Chill
he's
out.
a.
Wait, stop,
Chill out. Chill out.
calm down,
We can
calm
prove
down,
this. I've got all the logs.
calm down,
Go
calm
back and prove
down.
to me that I said scared because I'm 90% certain
Calm
that
down,
I didn't.
calm down. Okay, everything
if
is
I
good
did, I
now. Okay,
misspoke.
everything is good now. Okay, all right. If you escalate from here, it's only your fault. Okay, stop. All right. So, just give me the link of the video. I'll play. Okay.
All I was gonna say though is that no hard feelings against Jay. That was just I was a bit nervous about if we can't make that distinction, then it's gonna cause issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. But yeah, I genuinely respect him. The problem is I can't really dual wield and get that video ready with the timestamp. So honestly, I don't know if I brought that up at the best time. I'm sorry. So I'm just gonna say that throughout this, I've tried to point out that there are definitely real victims involved at the end of GamerGate. And my opponent, as much as he can rhetorically distract from them, all you have to I post, my own links in the research thing. Of course, eventually Tachyon figured that out and posted over me, so I could only ever post new videos or repost, which I don't want to do.
What are you talking about? I posted it there after
a lot of
Foodshops
those
told me to.
videos get into the dynamics I've been trying to point to, and I really think it is a waste of time to try to have all of these statistics, all of these receipts, when at the end of the day, it just seemed like this is supposed to be someone who wrote a book about the movement, and that's fine. I respect that. Clearly, this person was very listenable in their intro when they were talking, and we were able to hear that they are an author. I don't discredit that. However, when your entire narrative avoids these women as victims, I think, or finds every way that you can to minimize it, I think you've seriously lost what people are actually saying against Gamergate, and that's the only way that it makes sense to you that the activists on the other side could be the victims. All we are saying at the end of the day is that this movement did not embody activism for ethics in games journalism. It embodied a hate campaign, just as the evidence at the end. Now, I do appreciate that Tachyon provided as much evidence as he did. I didn't have time to go through it all, unfortunately, and I will be going through it more and more afterwards. However, it's for every single thing of Tachyon's that I looked at, and then I dove into mildly through YouTube, through academic journals, through just Wikipedia searches, it falls flat on its face. So all I'm going to say is that if you think he made any particular points that are pivotal for you, and that you think, he's right on. If he's right on that, then I'm convinced. Look into them, and make sure you're not just hearing it from the side of people who are immersed into this culture to begin with, to the point that they don't necessarily see how something like harassment is wrong. Now, I'm not saying just to be clear, I'm not saying Tachyon doesn't, but there is this problem of the culture standing by as women were victimized, as women were harassed, as they were doxxed, as they were threatened, and then saying, well, it's only a fraction of the movement that actually did it. Well, how did you generate that outcome to begin with is the real question. So that's it for me. I will be. I'm going to leave temporarily after this because I'm going to try to make a call, and I also want to. I don't. I don't know if my computer's doing something right, so I'm going to have to restart it. Every technical difficulty, by the way, before this. So thank you for listening. My name is Ninetails Cosmic Fox. I'm on. When I actually figure out how to get live again, I'm twitch.tv/Ninetails Cosmic Fox, and all just words. On Twitter, I'm at M9Scarlet. That is the letter M, the number 9, and Scarlet with 2 T's at the end. I'm always up for discourse. I'll pick up virtually any conversation that isn't just pure Nazi dog whistling. So, feel free to come at me with whatever you got. If don't just tell me that I don't make sense. Come at me with why I'm wrong.
Oh wait, are you gonna post a link to the video?
No, they're like I said, it was too much to dual wield what I was saying and find the particular part of the video where we were gonna start. But like I said, I have things posted in what's it called again? I'm in the wrong Discord channel. The research.
Yeah, no
links?
problem. Don't worry
Public
about it.
research.
Oh,
On public
also,
research.
yeah, and also before you leave, I want to thank you for participating in this debate. Much appreciated. And also another thing is, I would
thank
like
you for
to.
hosting, and thank you to Tachyon for being my opponent. I forgot the formality, so.
Yeah, sure, no problem. And also another thing, I want to talk to you one-on-one sometime about debate rhetoric. And also, I actually wrote down during the debate, I wrote down some things as well with if you guys are doing a rematch in the future, some ways that you can improve against Tachyon as well, in terms of et cetera, if you're up for it. Yeah, just the future. Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
Yep.
Have
All
a
right.
good one, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye. Farewell. Bye.
I guess
All
I
right,
guess I don't get a
Tachyon.
closing statement.
No. You get a closing statement. Yeah.
I was gonna
now.
I was gonna be somewhat magnanimous. I was gonna say thanks for partly the formalities. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you Foodshops for hosting. Thank you Ninetails for doing it. And I got a little heated at a couple points, and I was frustrated because I'm sure the people who were watching my stream saw I kept trying to pull up these archive.is files, and every single time it would bring up you had to pass the CAPTCHA, and it wasn't letting me pass the CAPTCHA to recognize me as a human. So I was pretty pissed, and I let my anger. I should never have said that pedo joke. I was just playing around. But
You know what
it was
else you
stupid.
shouldn't
I
have
shouldn't have said
said?
that.
The N-word. You shouldn't have said the N-word.
That's literally the name of their group, though. You can look it up. It's an online
No,
group.
you should have said NGAA. Why did?
Yeah, I should have said whatever. But
Oh
I appreciate everybody for watching. And I don't think that GamerGate is a hate group. I think that we've seen that every time I bring it up, and she brings it up, she says, "Oh, it's just just because a fraction, less than 1% of the people are doing this thing, that should define the movement." I don't think that that's accurate. I don't think that less than 1% of people get to define a movement, and I don't think she even holds that view necessarily. I don't think she would hold that view about Black Lives Matter, that, oh, well, less than 1% of the people engaged in riots, therefore Black Lives Matter is a violent mob. I don't think she would hold that same position across the board. I think that GamerGate was about a lot of different things. It was about ethics in games journalism. We uncovered dozens, if not hundreds, of ethical violations across multiple publications. We've created tons of resources online, including Deep Freeze, where you can see these ethical violations for yourself. We've also been heavily involved in the culture war debate about censorship in gaming. So we were heavily involved with trying to promote creative freedom. When these online mobs started attacking game developers and creating petitions to try and get games banned from stores, such as Grand Theft Auto 5, and which they succeeded in. They succeeded in banning Grand Theft Auto 5 from Target and Kmart in Australia, which we were opposed to. We were very much opposed to the Change the Cover campaign that was going to censor a Batgirl cover. We were very heavily opposed to the Lionhead Studios. Well, people had mixed opinions on the Lionhead Studios thing, but there were a lot of GamerGate people who believed that was possibly the beginning signs of a move that would create a chilling effect in the industry to censor games and create a culture of fear where developers would be afraid to make the games that they want to make. And we were very much opposed to the Pillars of Eternity controversy, where an online mob of people pressured the developers to try and get them to change, to take elements out of their game because they found them offensive. So we were involved with creative freedom. We were involved with ethics in games journalism. Gamergate was not one thing. All right, Gamergate's a massive, complex topic, and I think it's really unfair to say that because less than 1% of people engaged in harassment that they get to define who we are and what we stood for. Obviously, I condemn all harassment. I condemn sexism and I condemn racism. I don't believe in any of that sort of thing. I don't think it's good. I think it's evil. I think we should oppose it. But I don't think you should falsely label people racist and sexist and harassers just because you disagree with them. I wanted to have a good faith conversation when I went into this. I was hoping for a very different kind of conversation here. I was hoping that we'd be able to explore the issues and go over the specifics and be like, okay, that's my perspective, that's your perspective. Let's go ahead and hear each other out. That's what I went in hoping this would be, and that's not the conversation we had tonight, and that's disappointing. But I'm definitely open to having other conversations in the future with her, with Helicopter Guy, with pretty much anybody. So yeah, thank you, Foodshops, and I guess I could do a couple viewer call-ins too.
Hold on. Before you leave, you ready for my take on Gamergate?
All right.
Yeah, my take is that bullshit. Okay, no, I'm kidding. No, is that it's listen, all right. After I've watched the debate, I have become more firm than ever that I doubt Gamergate. But your opponent, maybe one day, will not be Nine one day, but me on Gamergate. And you'll find that it won't be an easy fight. It will be quite possibly a hard fight. Maybe you'll be up against a master of debate, all right? But yeah, who knows? But we'll see. All right. It's interesting to hear your arguments about the whatever the fuck.
So you're the final boss of Gamergate.
Huh?
You're the final boss of Gamergate?
No, I just find your arguments entertaining. And I find the back and forth entertaining. And if something I find fun is fun, then it's fun. I just think that if you're going to be arguing against a certain idea or concept, there is a way to go about it in a responsible way and to pick your fights carefully. And there are some points where the moment that you pick a point to fight on, you have to make sure you're fighting that point well. Otherwise, you should never fight that point in the first place, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, which ones did you think I didn't do well on?
Well, hold on. Not you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I think that Nine in this debate, without saying too much, because I want to give her feedback, right? Because I want to have a one-on-one with her, not because I disagree with her, but because I feel like she took on too many fights at once with you. And that is why she had a hard time. And I did disagree with some of her points, but that is beside the point, right? Is that she took on too many fights and you managed to not feel trapped in a corner because you always had a way out. So from an outside perspective, as a moderator, it was less from a moderator perspective than from an analyzer's perspective, if that made sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. You did fine with moderating.
Yeah.
You weren't like biased.
I didn't need to moderate. It was less about moderate. You guys did perfectly on the non-ad hominem part. All right. Yeah. No, you guys were hella civil. It was more about the Oh yeah, you guys were perfect. Because usually, you guys are like going ham like with the ad homs and the passive aggressiveness and the whatever the fuck, right? But you guys were hella civil. I mean, this is the difference between like a Orbiter War panel and like a fucking whatever, because the moment it's like 3 or more people, it's like a fucking everybody's going ham and ham, right? But this, much better because it's a one-on-one, right? But yes, we disagree. Very hard. And I know when I was watching you go toe to toe with Nine, I knew exactly which tactics you use, exactly what tactics you're using, and how you're using them, and dare I say it, disingenuously. But we'll save it for.
Oh no,
whatever
you don't
discussion we
get to.
might have.
No. What did I do that was disingenuous? What did I do that was disingenuous?
Yes.
You don't. Come on, you
we'll
can't
save
just
it for
call me
another
out
time.
like that and then not back it up.
I'm gonna listen. We'll save it for whatever discussion we have in the future. All right. But I'm gonna go and visit my mom now. Okay. All right.
All right. Well,
I want to see
I'm
her
going.
fat ass. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll see you. Wait, hold on. I gotta kick you out of this call because you're not meant to be in here. Okay. All right. But I'm gonna go now. Okay. I'm gonna end the stream anyway.
Oh,
All right.
if you want to
I'll
do
see you.
viewer,
Bye-bye.
if your people want to do viewer call-ins, I guess.
Oh
you can
yeah,
do it on
Chet
my
Tachyon. Wait. Do you
I can give you the
wait?
Discord
do you
link.
stream
That
on
way you
Kick?
can.
Wait. Do you stream on Kick?
Yeah, technically I'm on Kick right now.
Okay. Wait, I'm gonna raid into you.
Oh, dude, there's so many people in the chat on all these on Twitch and Kick and YouTube, and I didn't get a chance to pay attention to hardly any of it because so many people sent me DMs and shit live, and I'm like, I got a little distracted a few times because I had like so many freaking things happening at once. But
how the fuck do I raid into you? What the fuck? How do I do that?
It's not called a raid. It's called a It's called something else.
Host
It's
channel.
Host, yeah. And then also you can raid on YouTube if you want as well.
18 viewers ready to go. Perfect. Okay, start.
All right, but thanks for having me on. This was awesome. My first Kick raid, by the way. Lord Nurgle's in the chat. He's saying, "Oh no."
Okay, listen. This is for calling you disingenuous and then not elaborating and leaving. Okay. All right. So there you go. All right.
All right.
Okay, and also this is yeah, that's about it. Also, I want to give a formal I hate public apology because they sound disingenuous. But listen, my bad to Jay. Okay, all right, I'll make it up to you in the future, and I'll work on it. Okay, but
honestly, that was
okay,
bullshit. What happened to him? That never should have happened. I don't think.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Listen, and Nine also expressed regrets. So
true.
All right.
To her credit, she did own up to
it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Listen. All right. I'll see you guys. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
All right. So I'll be doing viewer call-ins in a minute here, guys. But I gotta hit the restroom. Okay. So we'll do viewer call-ins on my Discord. If you want to go into the waiting room, and when I come back in like 2 minutes from the bathroom, we'll be good. I'll also post the link in Twitch and Kick Chat too, so anyone who wants to discuss the debate is more than welcome to. I can't say super long. I probably have a friend coming over in real life. He wants to discuss how the debate with me as well. That'll be an off-air conversation. But I will be back in a minute.